You know what most people never tell you? The people who are living the life you want, the freedom, the money, the respect, they are not playing by the same rules you were taught. They never were. And today I'm going to show you exactly what those rules are. Not the soft, feel-good version, the real one. The one a Florentine political advisor wrote 500 years ago that the powerful have used ever since, and hidden from everyone else. Stay with me for the next 20 minutes, because by the end of this, you're going to see the world differently. You're going to see why you've been losing and exactly how to stop. Move 1, stop waiting for permission. Here's the first move. Stop waiting for permission to win. Machiavelli wrote something that disturbed the church, disturbed kings, and disturbed every comfortable person who read it. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that fortune is a woman, and if you want to master fortune, you have to be bold. You have to grab it. Because fortune rewards the aggressive, not the patient. Now think about your own life. How many opportunities have you let pass because you were waiting? Waiting for the right time, the right credential, the right nod from somebody above you. How many dreams are you sitting on right now because you haven't been given permission to pursue them? The world is not designed to give you permission. It's designed to keep you in place. Systems, institutions, social norms, they exist to maintain order. And order means that most people stay where they are. Machiavelli understood this 5 centuries ago. He watched princes rise and fall, he watched republics collapse, and he noticed one thing about the winners. They moved. They acted when others hesitated. They did not wait for perfect conditions because perfect conditions don't exist. Practical application. Right now, today, what is one move you've been postponing because you're waiting for someone else's approval? Write it down. That is the first thing you're going to do this week. Not perfectly, not completely, just the first step, done without permission. Because here's the dark truth, no one is coming to save you. And the faster you internalize that, the faster everything changes. Who was Machiavelli? Now, quickly. Who was this man? Because you need to understand where this framework comes from before we go deeper. Niccolò Machiavelli, born 1469, Florence, Italy. He wasn't some armchair philosopher. He was a civil servant, a diplomat, a man who spent decades watching real power operate up close. He negotiated with kings. He watched Cesare Borgia, one of the most ruthless political operators in history, consolidate power from nothing. When the Medici family returned to power in Florence, Machiavelli was thrown in prison, tortured, and stripped of everything. He wrote The Prince, his masterpiece, not as a moral guide. He wrote it as a survival manual, as a map of how power actually works beneath all the polite language people use to cover it up. For 500 years, people have called this book dangerous, evil, immoral, and you know what? That reaction alone tells you it contains something real. Comfortable lies don't get banned. Truth does. So let's get into the moves, because we've got a lot to cover, and every single one of these will hit differently by the time we're done. Move 2, control the narrative or someone else will. Move 2, and this one is everywhere once you see it. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few feel what you are." Read that again. Everyone sees what you appear to be, few feel what you are. This is not about lying. This is about understanding that perception is reality for most people. And if you're not actively shaping how you're perceived, someone else is doing it for you. And they are not doing it in your favor. Think about the most successful people you've ever watched from a distance. The entrepreneur who seems to always know what's happening. The person in the room everyone gravitates toward. They are not necessarily smarter than you. They are not necessarily working harder than you, but they have mastered the art of the narrative. They control the story people tell about them. And you, if you've ever been overlooked for a promotion you deserved, passed over for an opportunity you were qualified for, or dismissed in a conversation where you had the right answer, part of that is a narrative problem. You allowed your story to be written by others, or you didn't write one at all. Machiavelli's insight, a prince must be a great actor, not fake, strategic. Know when to show strength, when to show humility, when to be accessible, and when to be distant. The key is that you are the one choosing which face to show and when. Practical application. Audit your presence. How do people describe you when you're not in the room? If you don't know, find out. Ask a trusted person. What you hear might be uncomfortable, but that discomfort is data. It tells you exactly where to focus your narrative work. Move 3, use people strategically without losing your soul. All right, this is the move most people click away from. And I know why, because when you say use people, immediately something in you resists. It sounds cold. It sounds exploitative. I get it. But here's what I want you to consider before you dismiss this. The discomfort you feel right now, that's conditioning. That's years of being told that ambition is selfish, that network building is manipulative, that leveraging relationships is somehow immoral. And that conditioning, that right there, is exactly why most people stay exactly where they are. Machiavelli didn't say exploit people. He said understand what people want and create situations where both of you benefit. That's not exploitation. That's how every great alliance in history has worked. Every mentor relationship, every business partnership, every political coalition. They are built on the understanding that humans act in their own interest, not out of cruelty, out of nature. And the person who ignores this is the person who gets blindsided over and over again, wondering why people they helped didn't return the favor. Here's the Machiavellian framework for this. Before any significant relationship, ask 2 questions. What does this person want? And what do I have, or what can I become that provides that? When the answers align, that's a real alliance. When they don't, know that going in, so you're not deceiving yourself about what the relationship actually is. This is not about being cold-hearted. You can be warm, generous, and genuinely kind, and still think strategically about who you invest in and why. In fact, the most generous people I know are also the most strategic. They give to the right people, at the right time, for the right reasons, and their generosity multiplies because of it. The alternative? Giving your time, your energy, your loyalty indiscriminately, and watching it drain away with nothing to show for it. That's not noble, that's wasteful. Move 4, never rely on one source of power. Machiavelli warned princes never to rely on the goodwill of others as the foundation of their power. He said, and this is one of the most important lines in The Prince, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." And people always stop there. They hear feared and they react, but they miss the next part. But above all, avoid being hated. What he was actually describing is the danger of dependency. If your entire position depends on one person liking you, one company employing you, one platform hosting your content, one client paying your bills, you are not powerful. You are one decision away from losing everything. We've all seen this play out. The employee who gave 15 years to a company that laid them off in a Zoom call, the creator who built everything on one platform and woke up one morning with their account gone, the person whose entire social world revolved around one group, and the day they fell out, they had nothing. Machiavelli's lesson: build multiple pillars, diversify your value, make yourself useful, connected, and capable across different domains, so that no single person, institution, or platform has the power to end you. In practical terms, what are your 3 income streams right now? If you can't name 3, that's your most urgent work. What are your relationships like across different circles? Is your entire network concentrated in one industry, one community, one context? If that context disappears, what do you have? Ruthlessness, in the Machiavellian sense, is not cruelty. It's clarity. It's building your life so that you answer to yourself, not because you're isolated, but because you built enough pillars that no single one can be pulled out from under you. Move 5, strike decisively or not at all. This one changed how I think about everything. Machiavelli observed something about the princes who lasted versus the ones who fell. The ones who fell almost always made the same mistake. They injured their enemies halfway. They struck without finishing. They made moves that were bold enough to create enemies, but not decisive enough to neutralize them. He wrote, "Injuries should be inflicted all at once, so that their bitterness being less lasting, they will give less offense. Benefits should be given little by little, so that their flavor may last longer. Now strip out the medieval context for a second and apply this to your life. How many times have you made a half move? Started a business, then pulled back at the first sign of resistance? Committed to a change in your life, diet, habits, relationships, and then quietly rolled it back when it got uncomfortable? Made a decision and then kept one foot in the old way just in case? Half moves are worse than no moves, because a half move costs you the same energy as a full one, but produces none of the result. Worse, it signals weakness, to yourself and to the world. The Machiavellian principle here is, when you decide to move, move completely. Burn the bridge if you need to, not recklessly, strategically. But once the decision is made, commit to it with your full self. Because hesitation after commitment is the thing that kills more dreams than failure ever did. Think about the people who have succeeded at things you admire. Look at their stories closely. Almost every one of them reached a point where they had to make a choice. Keep one foot in safety or jump. And they jumped, not because they were fearless, because they understood that partial commitment guarantees partial results at best and disaster at worst. Move 6. Make your virtues visible, not just real. Here's one that might be the most misunderstood thing in all of Machiavelli. And I think it's the key to why good people so often lose to worse ones. Being good is not enough. You have to be seen being good. Now, I know that sounds like I'm telling you to perform. And if that's what you heard, let me reframe it. Machiavelli wasn't saying be fake. He was saying that virtue practiced in private does nothing for your position in the world. It might develop your character, but it does not build your power, your reputation, or your ability to protect the things you care about. Think about the most quietly excellent people you know. People who work harder than anyone, who are more honest, more capable, more deserving, and yet they remain invisible. They don't self-promote. They believe the work will speak for itself, and it doesn't. Because the world is noisy and most people are too busy managing their own lives to notice your quiet excellence unless you show it to them. The Machiavellian move: document your wins, share your process, build in public. Let people see not just the result, but the journey, so they can attach a story to you. Stories are how humans assign value to other humans. If you don't give people a story, they'll assign you a generic one. And generic doesn't command respect, opportunity, or loyalty. This is not about arrogance. Arrogance is claiming credit you haven't earned. Visibility is claiming credit you have earned and refusing to let it disappear into the noise because you were too humble to speak up. Move 7. Adapt or die. The lion and the fox. And here we are at the final move. And I've saved the most important one for last. Machiavelli wrote one of the most quoted lines in political philosophy. A prince must be both a lion and a fox. The lion cannot defend itself against snares, and the fox cannot protect itself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize snares and a lion to frighten off wolves. The lion uses force. The fox uses cunning. Most people are one or the other. They either push hard through everything, raw energy, brute effort, or they think endlessly without ever committing to action. The person who masters both? Unstoppable, because they can read the room. They know when to push and when to maneuver, when to be direct and when to be patient, when to confront and when to let time work for them. And this adaptability is the deepest lesson in all of Machiavelli. Because it's not just a political strategy, it's a life philosophy. The people who fail are almost always the ones who found one thing that worked and kept using it long after the world changed around them. The entrepreneur who scaled up using one strategy and then couldn't adapt when the market shifted. The employee who was excellent at one skill set and refused to learn new ones as their industry evolved. The person who had one way of relating to people, aggressive, passive, transactional, whatever, and couldn't modulate it based on context. Machiavelli watched princes fall again and again for this reason. Not because they were weak or stupid, but because they were rigid. The times change, he wrote, but they did not. Ruthlessness in the deepest sense is the ruthlessness to abandon what used to work when it no longer does. To kill the old version of yourself without grieving it too long. To be honest enough with yourself to see when your strategy is the problem, not the world. Why playing by the rules is a trap? Let me tell you what playing by the rules actually means. It means following a script that was written before you were born, by people who had interests that may have had nothing to do with yours. Go to school, get a degree, find a job, work loyally for 30 years, retire comfortably, don't rock the boat, don't ask too much, don't seem too ambitious, don't make others uncomfortable with how badly you want things. And for some people, in some eras, in some contexts, that script worked reasonably well. I'm not going to pretend it didn't, but here's the question. Does it work for you right now in the world as it actually is today? Because if you're watching this video, I suspect the answer is complicated. I suspect you followed some version of that script, and you've looked up one day and felt like something is deeply off. Like you're living someone else's idea of a good life. Like you're performing a role rather than building something real. That feeling is data. That discomfort is Machiavelli tapping you on the shoulder from 500 years ago, saying, the game you're playing was designed by someone else. You can keep playing it, or you can learn how power actually works and build a position where the rules work for you, not against you. Being ruthless doesn't mean being cruel. It doesn't mean stepping on people to get ahead. It means being ruthless about your own clarity, about what you want, what you're willing to do, what you're no longer willing to accept. It means being ruthless about your time, saying no to things that don't build toward the life you're constructing, even when saying yes would be easier. It means being ruthless about your standards, for the work you put out, the relationships you invest in, the person you're becoming every single day. And it means being ruthless about your honesty with yourself, because the most dangerous lies are not the ones others tell you. They're the ones you tell yourself to make the discomfort bearable. A direct address. I want to say something directly to you now, not to a general audience, to you specifically. You already know what you need to do. You have known for a while. The information was never the problem. You've read the books, you've watched the videos, you understand the concepts. The only gap is between understanding and action, between knowing and doing. And that gap is not closed by more information. It's closed by decision, by the choice made in a quiet moment, to stop managing your own mediocrity and to start building something real. Machiavelli didn't write The Prince for scholars. He wrote it for people who wanted to win. In a world that does not give out wins for free, does not reward effort it can't see, and does not respect those who refuse to claim what they've earned. You are not owed anything, but you are capable of taking what you build. And there is a significant difference between those two things. The rules you were given were designed for a world that may no longer exist. The question isn't whether to break them, it's which ones to keep, which to rewrite, and which to burn entirely. And the only person qualified to answer that question for your life is you. Recap and call to action. Quick recap of the 7 moves. 1. Stop waiting for permission. The window doesn't care how ready you feel. 2. Control your narrative. If you don't write your story, someone else will. 3. Be strategic with relationships. Mutual benefit is not manipulation, it's honesty. 4. Never depend on a single source of power. Build pillars, not a pedestal. 5. When you move, move completely. Half commitment is the slowest way to lose. 6. Make your virtues visible. Excellence practiced in silence disappears. 7. Be the lion and the fox. Adapt or become a lesson for someone else. If this hits you, share it with one person. Not because it helps me, but because you already know someone in your life who needs to hear this. Someone who is playing a game that isn't theirs. Someone who has been waiting for permission that will never come. Drop a comment below. Which of these 7 moves is your biggest blind spot right now? I read every single one of those. I want to know where you are. And if you want to go deeper, I've put together a full breakdown of the 3 Machiavellian principles most relevant to building real financial power in today's world. The link is in the description. Go there after this. I'll see you in the next one.